neurodivergent. Do you know what this means? I believe it's because I was diagnosed with ADD. So when one would ask me a question, I might say, what? But really, I just needed a second for the brain to process the words and comprehend. It's called neurodivergence. And I have worked really hard on my brain to perfect this. So when I was sitting there and I didn't respond just yet, one might think that I didn't hear them, when I did hear some of the words said, but it's just taking me a moment for my brain to process it. It took the Byzantine congruent of the brain a second. So when I do say what really, it's because I just needed a second to process. And this goes true for many conversations I've had from other people too. I might hear the words and then it takes my brain another second to recognize, and it's a second that's awkwardly too long sometimes, I would say, for me, because I'm an overthinker, so I might interpret the statement or question slightly differently. So I ask questions, or so I try, in order to recognize the validity of this type of truth, the fact that I can hear you despite not exactly hearing you. And I know me, if I'm too much in my headspace, I can hear your words, but I can't process the meaning. So it takes time for me to drop down to my heart versus overthinking. Then I can actually hear in my mind what's going on, words from others sometimes. I interpret differently based on my experiences in history. Words come straight to the brain. Conversations I have with people over the phone and face-to-face. Actually, neurodivergence is why my mom and I used to argue so much, because she would ask me a question and I took a second to hear her and understand, and then she would say, huh? Before I even had a chance to reply. So it was annoying, yet not wrong. It's the way my brain had a need, and needed a second to process the words from other people. Which is why I have spent over a year on this healing journey to learn and study my mindset and not disassociate when I didn't mean it. Because sometimes, to help my brain understand, I'd swipe up on my soul just so I could feel it externally on my body. I could feel myself not truly being present while I knew the validity of not being mindful. Talking to other people, I smoked a lot of weed, which ultimately led to this feeling and healing journey. I had to drop out of my head, get back into my heart space, and then I'd go, oh, okay, this is what they said. Well, I tried to remain mindful about it. I'm not sure anybody truly understands unless you're in it or have a similar diagnosis of how this takes time and work when you are just so caught up in the headspace like me. And I realized I was in a desert up there in my head, just 500 million miles away somewhere, while I was walking around on Earth School with my head slightly down, not being present either. And I probably spent 39 years of my life closing my eyes and pretending that everything is fine. When fine is not a feeling, it's usually a word used to avoid the feelings that are inside of you. You don't have to walk around this life closing your eyes. You should open them, especially after all this time. Or else you will just be basically sleepwalking. And you have control of your life if you just open your eyes and find your truth. 500 million miles away in a desert with a payphone in between me and the rest of society. That's what smoking weed for so long will do. It's what it did to my mentality. But the payphones, they went out of date years ago, and I'm just sitting there waiting on the line, except the person I'm waiting for is on hold, and it was me the whole time. It's time to walk out of the desert into the horizon, and it's the horizon of truth, where the real world meets the pretend one in you, or whatever world you created internally in order to protect your heart and your brain from surviving. Spring 2023, I took a video of myself, and at the time I did not know why, But I thanked me and my brain for protecting me by lying to me and not showing me the truth. But I was no longer willing to be lied to by you, brain. Thanks anyway. I realized how much I truly appreciate logic despite the truth pill that sucks to digest sometimes. And while I'm pacing around with anxieties, I know it's probably just feelings that I don't always understand that are mine. Because I drowned out my thoughts and my feelings with weed, which I needed to conquer if I wanted to thrive as an independent human being. The shaking in my body is my body telling me that I need to eat or drink more truth, whatever words I need to feed in me, even if it's just words of positivity. Whether it's good or bad, it's my merry-go-round mindset or the truth from my bullshit. This truth pill that I have has been discussed and digested by myself. And it makes me realize, yes, how dumb I've been at times. But the choices I've made, they are me. And it's made me stronger because I speak my truth to me. So now I feel like I am here to teach. I have a mind where I believe if you say something about yourself, it's true. So it's hard for me to compartmentalize that literally many people lie, even if it's about the smallest deeds. I was surrounded by a person with an erroneous character inside. And from a lot of sickness within that relationship, I just tried to create logic, even though I had trained my brain since I was a kid to try not to go insane, because I have watched it with my very own eyes. Insanity happening in my life that's not even mine. And I felt overwhelmed of others' energy versus mine. But I finally practiced for a year, had to stay in some type of space despite how it seems to other people who pass by. I began writing my truth in poetry. I never journaled as the word was overwhelming, but I found what works for me instead of turning into some sort of ball of anxiety. Experiencing life has been one for the books, and life has this journey which can feel like a long movie sometimes. But this is just a small cut from my last scene. That's been this neurodivergent healing journey. I love you. And your brain.